going on, guys? I want to talk to you guys about over people who are overly religious. Now, we all know that in the urban community, we all know that being overly religious is the way to be, right? We all know that. Um, a lot of us in the urban communities are raised in religion and indoctrinated with it at a young age. Now, me myself, even though growing up I used to read the Bible, went to church and all of this stuff, and I believe there may be a higher power, but now that I'm an adult, I decipher things more clear now. And I never was overly religious in my personal opinion, because even back when I was a teenager, I still went skating. I still like doing things and enjoying myself. I used to go to the teen club at the skate ring and get lap dance. I used to love doing that. Going skating at the skating ring, and they had the little teen club inside the skating ring. And I go in there, get lap dances, have a great time. So even when I was going to church, I don't think I was totally indoctrinated, because I still believed in having a good time and enjoying yourself. Um, the church, you know, it sets these parameters for your life. And even the little things that I was doing as a teenager, the church would speak against that. But I never felt that I was a overly religious person. I mean, there are some people who are overly religious. You may be overly religious. Whoever's listening to this, you may fit into this category. Um, but you know how it is when you're raised in a household with parents who are overly religious, deeply rooted into the church and things of that nature. I think that's why a lot of times once children become adults, they tend to back away from religion because they were overloaded with it as a child. Just like I was overloaded with a religion, and it molds you to be a certain way when you are raised that way. It molds you to be a weak person. It really does. Um, I never got, I never, I think one of the main reasons to why I never got too deep into it, because I had my grandparents and I had my father. I had people who were sensible. Um, if it wasn't for them, I would have probably been sucked into it even more, you know. But I know you guys can relate to this, being raised overly religious, uh, being just indoctrinated with this from a kid. I remember as a child, I would watch hell testimonies with my grandmother, and I mean, why does a child need to watch that kind of foolishness? That's not something that a child needs to even be entertaining. Why does a child need to even be watching that kind of stuff? Even when my aunt would take me to religious plays, you know, I would, I'm sure you guys can relate. I was overloaded on that stuff. And that stuff, it definitely molds you to be a certain way. But I'm just glad that, you know, now that I'm grown, I can put things in its perspective and look at things from a realistic point of view. And that's the beautiful thing about being an adult. You look at things for what it is. You put things in its perspective. Um, Religion, that stuff, man, it can really mess you up, and it can really have you walking around clueless in life. That religion, being indoctrinated with that, being around overly religious people, that stuff can make you dumb. It can really make you dumb. But I think it's just a urban culture thing, because in other ethnic groups, I don't think they are overloaded on religion like that. But I know, you know, and I know you guys can relate. People, you know, people are part of the urban community. I know you guys can relate, far as being raised all in the church and overloaded on religion. Religion is synonymous with Black culture. It's just something that it's just like the hood culture. It's just a part of the culture, and you can't help how you were raised, and you can't help what you grew up around. But once you become an adult, you can put things in its place. And once you have a better understanding of things, you know how to go about things. um my stepfather, my aunt, grandmother, you know they were overly religious for real. They still are overly religious. um People who are overly religious, I believe they running from something. I believe that they people, you got some people that have done a lot of bad things in their life, and you know the way that they erase that is by becoming overloaded on religion. um but to each his own. um Being overly religious, man, that's not gonna help you in this physical world. That's definitely not gonna help you down here. Like, I feel like while I was being overloaded on religion growing up, I should have been around someone that was telling me, like my father told me, telling me how this real world operates. If I was a parent, that's one thing I would never do, is overload my kids on religion, because the spirit realm doesn't have nothing to do with this physical world here. You know, sitting around, like my grandmother told me when I was a kid. Oh, pray to Jehovah Gamola. You know, and all this old stuff. You can pray to Jehovah Gamola all you want to. You better do something and make something happen. And being overloaded on religion like that, it wastes a lot of time. That's exactly what it does. Because while I was being overloaded on that, I could have been, and I'm sure you guys can relate. While we were overloaded on religion, we could have been getting some real life stuff to prepare us for this wicked world out here. Because this is a wicked world we live in, especially nowadays. You know, um, you know, I feel like parents need to be preparing their kids for the real world. You know, and in the urban community, a lot of us are so overloaded on religion, but we're not being prepared for the real world. You know, and that's what you need to be prepared for. That's why if I was a parent, I wouldn't be overloading my kids on religion. I'd be preparing them to go out here and deal in this world, you know, being able to, decipher and, have their head on right so they can fend and deal out in this wicked world. That's what I would do if I was a parent. Screw all that overloading on religion, you know. But that's pretty much what I wanted to say about this. I think it's just it's overkill in the Black community with this religious stuff. A lot of us, a lot of us are just overly religious. And and that it's just it's sickening because it's overkill. But let me know your thoughts on this, because I know a lot of you guys can relate to being raised overly religious. You know, but I'm just glad now that I'm a full grown man, I'm not overly religious. But leave your comments, leave your feedback. I'll talk to you in a minute. Good night.